Right, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so for today, we are going to continue still in um, topic 4, the working capital management, which is this will be the final part of this topic. Second, so if you recall this topic, the first part, which is about how to manage working capital, how to manage the current assets, right? We've discussed one subtopic, which is about cash management, the CCC, the cash cycle or the cash conversion cycle, right? So, like I said, technically we have another 2 or 3 types of current assets management, includes, right, together with inventory management, account receivable, and also marketable securities. But we haven't go, or we decided not to go over the topic because it's not part of our syllabus. Right. So after we've managed our current assets, okay, there's an there's a possibility, right? There's a possibility that the company or the firm has problems with regards to their current assets. Okay, regardless whether it's cash, current receivable, inventory, and whatnot. Okay, so they might have problems with regards to the current assets. So how to solve the problems or how to balance the issues is by having short-term financing, whereby they have to borrow money. Okay, if they have shortage of cash, for example. So a solution for that is by borrowing. Okay, so here today we're going to discuss about short-term financing. So in this subtopics, short-term financing, first we're going to go through the alternatives that we have. Okay, the alternatives of short-term financing that we can apply for. And the most important part is actually how to calculate the costs, right? Because when we talk about financing, borrowings, there's always a cost. So at the end of the session, you should be able to calculate each alternative's cost, and at the end, you can compare and decide which is considered the best alternative. Okay, so it all depends on the terms and conditions for each alternatives. So here, give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. So for short-term financing, as I said, we have few sources or few alternatives where the firm can borrow for short-term basis. So here, as you can see, we have a few alternatives. For example, we have the trade credit. The trade credit, basically the easiest source of financing, whereby we can get this directly from the supplier. Okay, we can get this from the supplier of our goods or our inventories, for example. And we also can borrow from the bank. Borrow from the bank here. Okay, so from the bank. And technically, under the bank loans later on, you're going to see a few options actually, besides the straight up bank loans. They also can borrow in a form of we call as revolving credit. Okay, this is also can be accessed from the bank. Okay, and last one is the commercial paper. So overall, we're going to discuss 4 types of short-term financing sources. Okay, the trade credit, the bank loans, which is one is the bank loans itself, and then we also together with the revolving credits, and lastly commercial paper. Okay, and as I said, we are going to go through how to calculate the costs for the respective alternatives, and we're going to decide which is considered the best, all right, the best alternative, and how to compare, because every types of financing going to have a different terms and conditions. So the best way or the fair way how to compare from one source to another is by using what we call as EIR, okay, effective interest rate, or sometimes it's also known as annualized percentage rate or EPR. Okay, but most of the time we're going to use this term, EIR, effective interest rate, right? Because it's not fair to compare from one to another, because like I said, the terms and conditions from one source to another might be different. So therefore, it is not fair to compare the rates based on nominal values. So we need to calculate the real values, which is based on the EIR, effective interest rates. So let's look at the first one, the trade credit. Okay, as I said, the trade credit can be accessed directly from the supplier. Okay, from the supplier. And it is usually often considered the largest source of short-term credit for small companies. Okay, for small companies. It is considered spontaneous. Like I said, it's easy to get. However, one downside of this trade credit, the cost. Okay, the cost can be high. Okay, so what does it mean by trade credit? Trade credit simply means you buy goods from your suppliers, and you have credit for 3 months, for example, before you need to pay to the supplier. So that three months credit is a form of a trade credit. Okay, you have access to the delay of a payment, right? So cost of credit depends on the credit terms. Okay, credit terms. So this is the one that we will measure based on the credit terms, which is set by the supplier. And these credit terms will define together with cash discount, if any. And this cash discount usually given to the customer, because to encourage customer to pay early. Okay, to pay early. So for example, like this is an example of trade credit. Okay, a typical trade credit will look something like this. Okay, 315 net 30. Okay, so what does it mean? 3 here refers to 3% discount. Okay, 3% discount if you pay within 15 days. Okay, so meanings if you want to get 3% discount, you have to pay within 15 days. Okay, 15 days. Or else you need to pay in full, okay, net, within 30 days. Okay, within 30 days. Right, so if I rewrite back here, 315 net 30. So 3 here refers to discount. Okay, 3 here refers to 3% discounts. Okay, and this 15 days refers to discount period. Okay, how long is actually the discount will be given to you, right? So meaning if you pay with after the 15, meaning on the 16th day, for example, you are not entitled for the discount anymore, but you are still part within the what we call as credit period. So the 30th day here refers to credit period. Okay, credit period. So the maximum number of days you are given will be 30th day. Okay, 30th day. So for trade credit, okay, for trade credit, what does it mean here? Means if we want to use trade credit as a source of short-term financing, for example, okay, I purchase let's say I purchase goods like supplies from my supplier worth let's say 20,000 ringgit. Okay, I purchase goods worth 20,000 ringgit from my supplier. Okay, and my supplier give me these credit terms. Okay, these credit terms, 350 net 30, right? And let's say at the same time, I have some projects, okay, some projects that I need to pay for, and it's worth 20,000 as well. Betulan sama value. I purchased from my supplier 20,000 ringgit worth of goods, and at the same time, I need 20,000 ringgit for a new project. Okay, however, in my hand, I only have 20,000 ringgit. So I have two options here, either to pay for the credit I get from my supplier, or I use this 20,000 for my project. So if I take 20,000 to pay my project, meaning I have to delay the payment for 30 days for my trade credit, which is still allowable, kan? So if I use that alternative, technically I use trade credit as my sources. Supposedly I have to pay in order to get the 3% discount and to pay for the supplies. But now I used my own money, the 20,000 ringgit, for the project. Okay, so therefore, like I said, the source is from me actually, but I delay the payment to the supplier. Even though it's my own money, that move, meaning I can say if I let go, all right, the options or the chance to get the discount here, it costs me something. Okay, so how much is the cost? Okay, the cost, walaupun it's my own money, we can calculate. Okay, we can calculate it. And we can calculate it using this formula. Okay, which is the effective interest rate or the annualized percentage rate. Okay, basically it refers to the same thing. So the formula is D. D refers to the discount rates. Okay, remember this one, Daddy? This is actually D, the discount rate. Divide by 100 minus discounts. Okay, so D is discount, divide by 100 minus discounts. And we multiply with 360. Okay, 360, this is fixed, fixed amount. Divide by credit period minus discount period. Okay, so here we have credit period, and we have discount period. That's it. So these three information for the credit terms will be used here. It will be used here. For example, tadi berapa? 315. Sorry, 315. Let's see. All right. So we have three information, and this information can be used with our formula here. So let's say if I want to calculate, it will be the discount is 3%. 100 minus 3%. Okay. Multiply with 360. Divide by credit period is 30 days. And my discount period is 15 days. So if you get confused which is credit period and which is discount period, okay, always remember the larger number is always in front. Okay, we shouldn't get negative numbers here, negative figures. Okay, always positive values here. Okay, therefore, the credit minus discount will always be positive, meaning the larger number minus the lower number. Okay, so once you have this, you can calculate the cost already. Okay, so 3 divided by 97 times 360 divided by 15. So here, based on this, it would be 74.23%. Okay, times 100 lah. To convert into percentage, you just time the answer with 100. Then you get 74.23%. Okay, this is percent, 74%. Imagine you borrow, need to pay 74% interest. Okay, this is basically the interest rate. Okay, Along pun much lower than this. So what we can conclude here, as I said, trade credit is the easiest source of financing. Okay, however, the costs can be high. Okay, even though technically you use your own money tadi, but instead of you get the discounts, okay, you use that money and you're gonna skip the discounts. So the cost, right, that will that you have to bear based on that action is 74%. So what you should do actually, so instead of you use your own money, that 20,000 that you have, you should pay early in order to get the discount. All right, to get the discount, and the 20,000 ringgit that you need for the project, you should borrow from somewhere else. You can go to the bank, or you do other stuff, meaning you don't use that money based on this trade credit, actually. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, this is for trade credit, for trade credit. So you just need to remember this formula. And the question will always give you this trade credit. Okay, but not this number. It can be anything. It can be 2, 10, net 20, for example. Okay, it can be any numbers, but you know the pattern. Okay, discount divided by 100 minus discount, multiply with 360, divide by credit period minus discount period.
Doctor, can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you mean that easiest source of money, but the cost can be high.
Yeah.
Easiest source of money, as in for the supplier.
No. The cost ni technically kita panggil cost ni is the cost for foregoing the discount.
So easiest cost for money.
Yeah, cost of money, which is like I said, even though it's your own money, okay, but the move that you make by foregoing the discounts will cost you this much. Okay.
If let's say
Because
I didn't pay within the, within the discount
okay,
period. If I pay within the discount period, I can get the discount. But if I
yeah,
pay, let's say lebih daripada discount
in
period
this,
tu, I need to pay full
full,
payment
yeah,
within this 30 days,
yeah,
within this credit period.
yes.
Oh, that is what it means by is this cost of money, but will apa
So I said, imagine macam ni, I ulang balik
cost can be high.
Let's say you have 20,000 ringgit. Okay, yourself as a company, you have 20,000 ringgit. You just purchase your supplies from your supplier, and katakanlah kebetulan 20,000 ringgit as well. Okay, so the supplier give you this credit term 350 net 30. So technically, you can get discount 15 days, or else you have to pay in full 30 days. Right? And like I said, let's say you have another incoming project, and that project requires 20,000 ringgit as well. And that project lasts, let's say, for 30 days as well. Katakanlah kebetulan 30 days. Okay, so you have the options here. Okay, I have 20,000 ringgit. If I pay the supply to my suppliers, I don't have money for my project, which my project will generate me income. Okay, so instead of I borrow from somewhere else that 20,000, you decide, okay, instead of I borrow from the bank, for example, I use my own money 20,000 ni for my project. So for the supplies ni, I tunggulah 30th day tu nanti baru I bayar. Okay, and the source can be from anywhere. Okay, that move will cost me 74%. So the 20,000 that I use to skip these discounts, okay, will give me ataupun will cost me 74%. So that's why I said, if you calculate your cost is this much, so the correct way to deal with this situation, instead of you use your own money to skip this payment, okay, so you have to borrow from somewhere else, which will give you much cheaper option. Okay, bank, I don't know, 5%, 10%, which is much cheaper as compared to this rate. Itu je lah dia punya the means of this rate credit. Okay, this rate, like I said, this is just a number that if we forego the discounts, kita let go the discounts. Okay, and this is how much it costs. Okay, so this is our first option, trade credit. And out of 4 options, like I said, the trade credit je yang akan ada slightly formula will look something like this. The other 3, we're gonna have a slightly different approach of calculations. Okay, so let's look at the second option now, which is short-term bank loans. Okay, so from the second options until the last option, all are considered as non-spontaneous. Okay, if this one just now, this is spontaneous, right? This is from internal, easily to get. But for bank loans, revolving credit, commercial papers, all are considered non-spontaneous. And we're going to, in order to get this source of financing, we need to borrow from outside, from external. The one tadi ni, this is from internal. This is spontaneous, meaning from internal, your own money. How to get this credit? You get it from the supplier, but how you can utilize money? By delaying the payment. Okay, you delay the payment. That's it. But here, in order to get this source of financing, you need to borrow from the external parties. So bank loans, like I said, we have two parts. The one that we will discuss is the short-term bank loan itself, which has maturity less than 1 year. Okay, and the other one is actually revolving credit agreement. Okay, there are two parts here. So for bank loans, the normal bank loans, okay, see okay, maybe I nak discuss the terms and conditions. Okay, the terms and conditions for bank loans. So there are two parts of terms and conditions that you need to observe when we talk about short-term bank loans. Number one is the type of interest. Okay, type of interest. Is it a normal interest? Or is it what we call as discounted interest? Okay, number one. And number two is the compensating balance. Okay, so these are the two terms or the conditions made by the bank that we need to observe. So first, let's look at the types of interest. So there are two types here, the normal interest and the discounted. So what's the difference between the two? Is how the bank charge you the interest. So if it's a normal interest, okay, you have to pay the interest at the end. Okay, at the end of the terms. Okay, ataupun ialah at the end of the terms. Whereas when we talk about discounted interest, you need to pay the interest upfront. Okay, you need to pay the interest upfront. So I will show you afterwards what does it mean by paying the interest upfront. Okay, however, if I ask you, do you know ataupun do you remember what would be the formula of interest? I think we've discussed this as well kan masa kita buat cash budget before this interest. Okay, don't forget the interest formula is interest, is principal. Okay, multiply with the rates, the interest rate, multiply with the time. Okay, don't forget this formula, PRT in short. P times R times T. Okay, and the calculation of interest for both will be the same, but how we treat the deduction of interest will be different if it's discounted. Okay, that's number one. Secondly, the second term that you need to observe would be the compensated balance. So what does it mean by compensated balance? This is the minimum balance required, okay, throughout the loan period. So a simple explanation would be, I think every one of you have savings account with a bank. And whenever you want to withdraw, the bank set a minimum amount that they need ataupun you have to maintain in the account. For example, 10 ringgit. Okay, so you cannot withdraw the balance 10 ringgit in your account. Okay, so similar for compensating balance. So compensating balance means if you borrow a certain amount of money from the bank sets a minimum balance that you need to keep in the bank account throughout the loan period. Let's say you borrow 100,000, bank kata, okay, 10,000 you need to keep in the bank until you fully paid all your loans. Okay, so that is compensating balance. To compensate lah basically. So if if these two terms are applicable to your accounts, automatically your rate of interest will be much higher than the one that they declare to you. Okay, so ada example tak? Okay, ada example kat belakang. Okay, by the way, when we want to calculate the bank loans, okay, ataupun the cost of borrowing from the banks, okay, again, we're going to use EIR or APR with the formula of interest. Okay, remember the formula of interest I just wrote just now, principal times rate and times time. Okay, and we divide with proceeds. So what does it mean by proceed? Proceed is actually usable amount. Okay, amount that we can utilize. Okay, amount that we can utilize. So if we borrow again 100,000, there's a possibility that sometimes we cannot utilize all 100,000. The bank will deduct some of them. Okay, it can be in a form of interest, it can be in a form of compensating balance. So that's why we have two things that we can deduct from our principal. First, if it's discount interest. Second, if it's compensating balance. Okay, so for every items that we need to deduct, the cost of interest that we have to pay is actually much higher than the one that they advertise, right? And we multiply with, again, 360, okay, divide by the loan period. Okay, remember our maximum loan period would be 1 year. Okay, 1 year. So for this loan period, if we use 360, obviously our loan period will be in number of days lah. Okay, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days with a maximum of 360 days. So alternatively, if you don't want it, if you do not want it to use 360, you can use 12 here in the form of months. Okay, months pun boleh juga. So if it's months, so your loan period would be in months lah, 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, and so on. Okay, so we are flexible on this matter. You can use this or you can use months, right? So that's it. Then we can calculate the effective interest rates. Okay, so here let's look at the example. Okay, so this is the amount that we need to borrow, 10,000 ringgit. So this is our principal. Okay, and the interest rate is 12%. Okay, so this is our R. So we have two maturity here. So let's say we just ignore yang 6 months, kita tengok yang 1 year je. So this is our T, 1 year. Okay, so how to calculate the EIR? Okay, this is the simplified ataupun this is already done. Okay, but for me, what I'll do first, I'm going to calculate the interest. Okay, for EIR question, so first we have to calculate the interest. So the interest would be 10,000 ringgit, the principal, with the rate of 12% for 1 year. Okay, so here we get 1,200 ringgit. Hence this one, this part is 1,200 ringgit. Okay, the question doesn't specify about discounted and doesn't specify about compensating balance juga. Okay, so therefore, our proceeds will be full. We don't have any deductions. Okay, based on this, we have to look for discounted interest or compensated balance, if any. Okay, but for this question, there's no specification of both. So therefore, the 10,000 we are going to get in full. Okay, so once we have this information, interest and proceed, okay, based on this, we have the interest, we have the proceeds, then we can calculate the EIR. And the EIR is, this one sebenarnya, 1,002, sorry, 1,002 divided by 10,000 times 360 and divide by 60 lah, because this is 1 year. Okay, I use 1 year. So based on this, since there's no deduction, okay, there's no deduction, I get full 10,000 ringgit. This would give me a 12% rate. And this 12% is similar like this rate. Okay, this rate is actually what we call as nominal rate. So the one that we borrow based on bank's loan, which is 12%, similar with my effective interest rate. There's no changes. Okay, this is based on regular interest. Okay, ataupun normal tadi. Like I said, normal. This is based on normal. So what we can conclude here, if it's a normal interest rate, okay, our effective interest rate will be the same as our nominal. Okay, the one that the bank provide us the rates. Okay, this is just again for illustration. Okay, for illustration. Don't expect this type of information for your quiz or your test punya question lah. The one that usually they ask would have either of these two, either one or it can be both. Okay, so what happens if we have either one? So let's move on to the discount interest. Okay, so this if it's discount interest. So how to know whether the interest is discount? So they're gonna use the word discount dalam ni. Okay, so let's say DBS berhad plans to borrow 10,000 ringgit. The discounted interest rate is 12%. Or they can use the interest rate is based on a discounted loan of 12%. Okay, so they use the word discount. Okay, they use the word discount. Okay, so once you see the word discounted interest as part of the terms and conditions, we have to tweak. Okay, we have to tweak. All right. Technically, in terms of interest, it will be the same, but it will affect our proceeds because when I said discount interest, remember tadi we pay the interest upfront. Okay, we pay the interest upfront. So what does it mean? Again, if we look based on this question, instead of regular, we use discounts. So the interest just now is based on 10,000 times 12% times 1 year again. So we have interest of 1,200 ringgit. Okay, but in terms of the proceeds, okay, instead of we receive 10,000 ringgit, but we have to pay the interest upfront. So the bank will deduct interest upfront. Before they release the money to you, they will deduct the interest upfront. Okay, so what happened? Will you receive 10,000? The answer is no lah. Okay, 10,000 minus 1,002 interest. So you can utilize 8,800 only. Okay, that's why I said proceed refers to usable amount. Okay, this is the amount that you will receive from the bank. Okay, so even though you borrow 10,000 ringgit, but you will only receive 8,800 ringgit because why? Because the interest is already, you need to pay this upfront. Okay, you need to pay this upfront. So what happened to the interest rates? Okay, so the EIR will be like this lah. So interest is 1,002. The proceed 8,008. Multiply with 360 by 360. And as you can see here, the interest rate jumped from 12% to 13.6%. Okay, so what does it mean? With discount interest, the effective interest rate is increased. Okay, from 12%. On paper, you kata, okay, you can borrow from me, from our bank, I'll give you 12% rates, but with a discount interest. Okay, so with the that term discount interest, I'm not paying 12% anymore. The amount that I pay is actually 13.6%. So this is the purpose of EIR, the effective interest rate. This is for comparative. We cannot compare based on 12% on paper. We need to compare the actual rate that we have to pay. Okay, and the actual rate is based on EIR, which is 13.6%. Okay, so here, as you can see, everything is the same. I borrow 10,000, the rate is 12%, and I borrow for 1 year. Okay, but because of that one term, the discount interest, the rate that I'm paying is actually different. Okay, they increase. So this is the first thing that you need to look at in terms of the discount interest. So the second one after this discount interest is the compensating balance. So this is the first one. The second is the compensating balance. Okay, and again, what does it mean by compensating balance? This is the minimum balance that you need to maintain in the bank account of that particular bank that you borrow from throughout your loan period. Okay, so here, this extension of the question just now, everything still remain the same. Okay, but we don't do discount interest maknanya based on this original. But the bank said, okay, the compensating balance is 10% of the principal. So what happened? Again, the interest would be the same, 10,000 times 12% times 1 year, you get 1,200. But now we have compensating balance. Okay, we have compensating balance and the rate is 10% out of principal. So our principal that we borrow is 10,000 ringgit. Okay, and they ask us to keep aside 10%. So 10% is 1,000 ringgit. So this is the amount that you need to maintain in the bank account. You cannot withdraw until you finish payment of your loan. And if this is the case, obviously it will affect our proceed. Okay, our proceed akan affected because instead of 10,000, we need to keep aside 1,000 ringgit in the account. So how much ringgit we can utilize? 10 minus 1. So we can only use 9,000 ringgit. Okay, so this is a proceed that we can use only 9,000 ringgit. Because of that, our EIR would be 1,002 divided by 9,000 times 360 over 360. We get 13.3%. Okay, this one, 13.3%. And again, with this compensating balance, our EIR will increase as well from the original 12%. Okay, we borrow 12% here, but because of CB requirement from the bank, the amount ataupun the rate that we are paying is actually more than 12%. We are actually paying 13.3%. So in short, if we have any of these two, discount interest or CB, it will cause our effective interest rate to increase. Okay, and worst case scenario, if we have both, meaning the bank charge you based on discounted interest, and on top of that, they will apply the CB requirement. Okay, so you can see here, the proceed will become lesser because we need to deduct both. So here, as you can see, if we have both, the rate become even higher, 15.4%. So that's why if you want to compare two banks, katakan, bank A dengan bank B, satu 12%, satu 13%. We cannot see on the surface. Dia tak boleh kata, okay, this bank A 12%, bank B 13%. So kita pilih bank A lah, because it's only 12%. No, we have to check on the terms and conditions. Because if there's any terms and conditions, it will cause your effective interest rate to be even higher. So there's a possibility that the 12% even maybe 12% cheaper on nominal, okay, but because of the terms and condition, it can shoot up to 15%. So therefore, the 13% with no discounted or compensated balance to be better options. So you need to look at the terms and conditions before you make decisions. Okay, so before we move forward, let's maybe I share with you. This one ada share pun sebelum ni. Let's say we have this question. Donut and Courier nama company. Donut and Courier Corporation needs 800,000. Okay, 800,000. So this is the principal. This is the principal. Okay. They need to borrow 800,000 to finance their new project. So the company has a few alternatives and they last for 270 days. So this is our time, 270 days. So calculate the EIR for each alternatives. Okay, so far we've done the short-term bank loans. Okay, so out of 3 options here, so this is commercial papers. Okay, we haven't discussed about this yet. And this is revolving credit, another bank types of financing, which again, we haven't discussed yet. So the bank loans is actually this one, alternative one. Okay, loan taken from one bank. Okay, with a 10% interest. So this is our rates. And this alternative will require the company to maintain 7% compensated balance. So there's no indications of discounts. Okay, so therefore, this is not a discount interest, this is a regular interest, but with 7% compensating balance. Okay, sekejap, bear with me. I just nak tunjuk macam mana nak tahu kalau dia discount macam ni. For example, question number 2, they have a discounted basis here. Okay, 7.5% interest on a discounted basis. So this discount basis will be the discount interest. Okay, so let's go back to this one. So based on this, alternative 1, okay, so how to calculate the EIR for alternative 1? Always starts with calculation of interest. Okay, always starts with interest. So the company wants to borrow 800,000. Okay, 800,000 is the amount borrowed. The rate of interest for alternative 1 is 10%. For how long? 270 days. So it will be 270 days divided by 360. So here the interest would be 60,000 ringgit. Okay, the interest is 60,000 ringgit. We have compensated balance, CB. CV is 7% of the principal. So borrow 800,000. CV is 7%, 0.07. So 800,000 with 7%. So the CB requirement is 56,000. Okay, 56,000. So what happened to the proceeds? To the proceed, you borrow 800,000. Okay, but this is not a discounted interest. This is just regular interest. So we don't have to minus the interest, 60,000, no. But we need to minus the CB, which is minus 56,000. So the proceed would be 744,000. Okay, 744,000. So once you have all of this information, then we can calculate the EIR, the effective interest rate. Okay, so based on EIR is interest divided by proceeds times 360 divided by T. Okay, ataupun the lending period ni tadi the formula I recap balik Okay, interest divided by proceeds times 360 divided by loan period. Okay. This one. Okay. So the interest is 60,000. Right? And the proceeds is 744,000. Okay. And we multiply with 360 and divide by with the loan period. Loan period is 270 days. So we divide with 270. So based on this, $60,000 divided by 744,000. 60 divided by 270. So here the rate is 10.75%. Okay, 10.75%. So see here, from 10% nominal, once they have 7% compensated balance, they shoot up to 10.75%. Okay, so here you can actually gauge or you can predict what would be the interest rates. Okay, it should be higher than 10%, obviously. So if you calculate tiba-tiba dapat 7%, 8%, you know something wrong with your calculations. Okay, the EIR shouldn't be lower than 10%. It should be higher. Okay, remember, because the rule is once you have CB or discounted interest, your EIR will increase. Okay, so in this case, yes, it increased to 10.75%. Okay, boleh ke? This is based on the first alternative atau it's actually second selepas rate credit tadi. We have this one, bank loan, short-term bank loans. Okay, so that's our second option, bank loans. Right, so I recap for bank loans. Beside this formula of EIR, interest divided by proceeds times 360 divided by loan period, observe these two parts. Either they use the word discounted interest and also compensated balance. Okay. Now, let's move on to the third one, the third alternative, which is revolving credit agreement. Or in short, usually we just call them RCA, okay, revolving credit agreements. So revolving credit agreement is actually is a line of credit. So credit card, for example, is example of line of credit. So they will give you a line of credit ataupun a line of credit. So let's say on credit card you have 10,000 credit line. Okay, so you can use that 10,000 ringgit throughout the time. So if you spend, let's say 1,000 ringgit, so you're left with 9,000 ringgit from your original 10,000. So then you have to pay back the 1,000 and then it will go back to 10,000 ringgit. So similar like RCA. RCA is a line of credit, but they give you a line to use. Okay, and you have to utilize it until the maximum amount throughout, let's say for 1 year. Okay, so the amount that you use from that revolving credit agreement, they will charge you interest on that. Okay, they will charge you interest similar like the normal loans. However, if you don't use your credit line, they're going to charge you commitment fees. Okay, you have to pay commitment fees. And this commitment fee is based on the unused portion. Okay, for example, you receive 100,000 RCA. The credit line is 100,000. Let's say you utilize 80,000 yeah. Okay, you use 80,000. This 80,000, you have to pay interest. Okay, depending on how long you borrow lah. Okay, but you don't use 20,000. So 20,000 is unused. So this unused amount, 20,000, you have to pay commitment fees. Okay, you have to pay commitment fees. For example, here the rate is 5% of the unused portion. So 20,000 times 5%, and that will be the commitment fees. And because of that, we need to adjust our ER. So you can see here, it's quite similar like normal bank loans, but we add the commitment fees element. Because commitment fees only applicable for RCA, not on the bank loans biasa. Okay, so just add commitment fees as part of your interest, and we divide with again the proceed. And for proceeds, look for again if there's any compensated balance requirement, if any. Okay, if any. Right? So let's say ni nanti try on your own, tapi let's say we continue with the one that I use, which is the question from here. Okay, so the revolving credit is actually in for alternative 3. Okay, for alternative 3. A revolving credit line with a limit of 1 million. So this is the limits. Okay, the line, credit line there 1 million. And they will charge you 3% above the base lending rate. Okay, untuk soalan ni dia trick sikit lah. They set 3% above the base lending rate, and the current base lending is 5%. So what does it mean? So how much is actually the interest rate? Okay, the BLR is 5%, but the rate they charge 3% above. So meaning the R is 8%. Why 8%? Because it's 3% higher than 5%. Okay, so the rate for this revolving credit should be 8%. So I put here rate of interest is 8%. We have 0.5% commitment fees, the unused portion. Okay, and that's it. There's no discounted, there's no compensated balance. Okay, there's no compensated balance. So first of all, when you see credit, revolving credit, okay, revolving credit, you will notice that the amount or the limit that they give you is higher than amount that you need. Okay, like for this question, the original question said, ataupun the initial information, they said the company requires 800,000. Okay, but the credit limit, they will give you more. They always will give you more. Why they give you more? Simply because they want you to identify what are the use amounts, what will be unused. Unused amounts. So based on this situation with a credit limit of 1 million, we know they're going to use only 800,000. Okay, we're still going to use 800,000. We will not use all because it will be unfair to compare. So we want to compare, we need to use the same interest principle. Okay, the principle must be the same throughout 1, 2, and 3. So if we use 800,000 only out of 1 million limit, so we're going to have 200,000 unused. Okay, we're going to have 200,000 unused. And this 200,000 will be charged with this amount, 0.5%. So therefore, move one ke bawah. So that I can write later on. So what happened based on this alternative 3? Okay, always start with interest. So we're going to borrow 800,000 based on the use amount. The rate is 8%. For how long? 270 days. So here the rate is, the interest is 48,000. Okay, but we have commitment fees for this question. We have commitment fees. And this commitment fees based on the unused portion. So the unused portion would be 200,000. And what will be the rate? 0.0005. Okay, because it's 0.5%, 0.5%. Okay, times 200,000. So the commitment fees is 1,000 ringgit. Okay, just 1,000 ringgit. In terms of proceeds, is there any deductions? Okay, no discounted, no compensated balance. So therefore, we're gonna receive a full 800,000 with no deductions whatsoever. So therefore, the ERR would be interest 48,000, commitment fee 1,000 ringgit, and the proceed is 800,000 times 360 for 270 days. So 0.9. So here the rate of interest, for the effective interest rate, will be 8.17%. Okay, 8.17%. Okay, so far we've done alternative 1, which is okay, which is 10.75. For alternative 3, it's 8.17%. Okay, so that's our third alternative based on this example. Okay, so for revolving credit, just beware of these commitment fees because we need the unused portion in order to calculate the cost. Okay, and we add with the interest. And for proceed, just aware kalau ada compensated balance. Okay, and the rest is the same as before. Okay, so that's our third option. Our last option, ni nanti you can try. We have the same concept. You can try nanti to see whether you understand or not. But I want to move to the last part, to the last option, which is the commercial paper. Okay, so commercial paper is actually similar like bond. If you learned about bond before, so bond is a long-term instruments, but for commercial paper, it is a short-term loans instruments, and usually issued by big companies. And they will sell this in the usually in the money market for short-term debt securities. Okay, so commercial papers will be sold by large company, and investor will buy them. So the source of money comes from the investor. So they have maturity. Again, the maturity you don't have to worry because usually the maturity will not be above 1 year. Okay, it's not to be above 1 year. And usually the rate, usually it's cheaper, okay, lower than the prime rate. But in your case, when you do your calculations, you don't assume it will be the lowest lah. You have to always to calculate. Okay, the CB is not required. Compensated balance is not required, so therefore there will be no CB. Okay, however, you need to pay a placement fee. Okay, there will be a cost for this. Okay, you have to pay placement fee. Sometimes we call placement fee, sometimes kita panggil dia issuing costs. Okay, it's all the same, placement fees, issuing costs. Sometimes they use the word brokerage fees. Okay, again, it refers to the same thing. You have to pay to to brokers, okay, to the dealers, right? When you want to raise this fund, okay. And who are the dealers, the brokers? Actually, the banks juga. Okay, it's always the bank. Okay, so we have this formula, okay, but I will stick with the original formula. Okay, what kind of formula? I'm gonna use this formula again. ER equals to interest divided by proceeds times 360 divided by loan period. Okay, I'm gonna use this formula again. Okay, so the face value minus interest minus placement fee, this is technically the proceeds. So when we talk about proceed, in this case, you're gonna use the principal, the amount yang you borrow, minus interest. Okay, so untuk commercial paper, we always minus the interest. Okay, always, meaning the nature of commercial paper, we deduct the interest upfront, just like our discounted interest earlier. Okay, so this is part of your formula lah. For the proceed for commercial paper, principal minus interest, which is based on our calculation of interest, and minus placement fee. Then we get the proceeds. Okay, so these three items must be present in the proceeds. Okay, so yang ni nanti agak complicated sikit lah. So I don't use this actually. I'm going to calculate the same way as before. Okay, interest is IPRT tadi. Interest equals to P times R times T. Okay, the proceed based on this. And the rest is the same. Okay, so again, we go back to this question for alternative 2. Okay, the company wants to issue 5 commercial papers. Okay, 5 commercial papers with 12% interest rate. So this is the R. The issuance cost is 4,000 per paper. So the placement fee ataupun the issuance cost is 4,000 per paper. But how many papers? They issue 5 papers. 5 papers. So 4,000 times 5 is 20,000 ringgit. Okay, so this is the placement fees ataupun the issuance cost. So itu je information. Issue 5 commercial papers at 12% with the issuing cost of 4,000 per paper. So what happened? Again, always start with interest. Okay, always start with interest. We're gonna borrow 800,000. Okay, the rate is 12%. For how long? 270 days. So here the interest is 72,000. Okay, we're gonna have placement fee ataupun issuance cost. The placement fee I already wrote here, but I rewrote dekat sini balik 4,000 per paper times with 5 papers. Yeah, issue 5 papers. The total cost would be 20,000. 20,000. And our proceeds, remember for proceed of commercial paper, take the principal minus the interest, always minus interest, minus placement fee. So we have a proceeds of 708,000. Okay, 708,000. So what would be your effective interest rate? 72,000 interest divided by proceeds, 708,000 times 360 divided by 270 days. So here you can get the rate of 13.56%. Okay, 13.56. So you have three rates now, 13.56, earlier 10.75, and the last one tadi is 8.17%. So you have three different rates. Okay, so that's our ERR for each alternative. Based on this question, this will calculate. And so this is for alternative one, the small portion in tadi. This is for the second alternative for the commercial paper, 8.56. And this is for alternative 3. Okay, you can see the pattern. I always start with interest. Okay, always start with interest and follow through whatever information that we need. For example, for the alternative 1, we have compensating balance, and then proceeds. For alternative 2, we have placement fees, and then proceeds. For alternative 3, we have commitment fees, then proceeds. Okay, and put the respective information in the correct formula, the correct way. Okay, example like alternative 3, the commitment fees, we add with the interest. Okay, so once you have all three, you can compare which is considered the best, because the last question they will ask you, which alternative should the company choose, and state the reason. So we have three options here. Okay, alternative 3, 8.17, alternative 2, 13.56, and alternative 1, 10.75. So the method or the way how we want to select, okay, we will always base on the cheapest or the lowest. So out of these three, okay, which alternative should the company choose? So you guys answer with the company should choose alternative 3. Okay, if possible, you put in the bracket kat situ, revolving credit. Because offers the cheapest rate. Okay, that's the reason why we choose alternative 3, 8.17, because it offers the cheapest rate. Okay, ataupun nak guna offers the lowest rates. Okay, it's also acceptable. So the method of this decision always based on the cheapest option. Okay, based on cheapest option. Okay, so that's about it for short-term financing. So we have 4 options. I recap. We have trade credit. We have short-term bank loans, revolving credits, and also commercial paper. So again, we have some info, some questions kat dalam ni. You can try later lah. So with that, end of topic number 4. Yeah, Okay. Now, let's try question number 2. So I'll give you time, let's say 20 minutes, okay, 20 minutes to try this question number 2. Okay, and for this question, they have all 4. They have all 4. Okay, for example, the first one here is short-term bank loans. The second one is revolving credit. The third one is commercial papers, and the fourth one is the trade credit. Okay, the only thing that we haven't discussed ataupun we haven't encountered anything is this part. Okay, ada satu mention kat sini. This company maintains a demand deposit of 4,000 ringgit in the bank. Okay, so this isn't not new lah. This is something that we haven't discussed earlier. Remember about compensating balance? Compensating balance refers to amount that we need to keep in the bank. Okay, that we need to keep in the bank, right? And based on this information, okay, this company, MMA company, is already a customer to ABC Bank and they already maintain a demand deposit. Demand deposit ni current account, 40,000 ringgit in the bank. So what does it mean? The bank requires 5% compensated balance. Okay, so meaning kalau CB dia 400,000, okay, or 12%, 400 times 12%. So technically, it's supposed to keep in the bank 48,000. So this is the amount that they need to keep based on this requirement, 48,000. However, this company, MMA company, already have this amount in the bank. Okay, requirement 48, but dalam bank dah ada 40,000. So does the company needs to, in terms of proceed tadi do the company needs to deduct 48,000 from the proceeds? So the answer is no, because they already have 40,000. So they need to top up just 8,000 to meet this requirement. So therefore, okay, in your proceeds later on nanti, you're gonna take the principal, you're gonna minus the discount. There's a discounted interest. So you're gonna minus the discount interest, minus interest. And for your CB, you're gonna minus 48,000, but with the 40,000 in the bank. So technically, you just need to minus 8,000 instead of a full 48,000. You just need to minus 8,000 because 8,000 only required to top up to make it 48,000 for this ABC bank. Okay, so this is the one that you need to adjust lah for this. So I dah explain kat you, but again, please try. Okay, so now it's 3:28. Let's discuss at 3:50. 3:50 kita discuss. If you have anything, just let me know. All right. So please try. So how was it? Okay. So maybe I'm gonna write a few je kat sini, nanti try lah yang lain tu. For example, for this one, the ERR should be 5 divided by is 5, times 360, 50 minus 15. So here is about 54%. Okay, so the rest nanti you try. Okay, if you want to know the answer, nanti let me know. Okay, you can try, find whatever the answer. Okay, but I want to let you know, there'll be another quiz, okay, for this topic. Okay, I will post the question in my guru. Okay, remember, I will set again this Thursday. Okay, this Thursday, similar like before, 5 p.m. the deadline. And the question is about short-term financing. Okay, so I will post another quiz in my guru. So no excuse, tak hantar lah, whatever. So check my guru and send it by Thursday, this coming Thursday, 5 p.m. I will set it until 5 p.m. Thursday. All right, so I think that's about it for today. Thank you very much. So we will continue with the rest of the topic. Topik apa lepas ni? We have agak slow sekarang ni. We have time value of money. So time value of money and bond we can do it together. Stock valuation, risk and return, capital budgeting. So quite a lot more lagi ni. So we have to speed up lah a bit, yeah. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next week.
Doctor.
Right. Yeah.
Can I request to open again the quiz 1 to extend the test submission because I missed that last week.
There will be plenty more quizzes in the future, so just keep on checking. I will choose nanti later on based on the so-called the best lah. So just keep on checking the portal to my guru for future quizzes. Okay.
I mean the quiz 1.
Yeah, the first quiz is done and dusted. So just keep on checking for the next ones. So we will have more quizzes in the future, but I will not use all, but I will choose so-called the best.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Doktor,
Yeah.
open exercise tadi nak dapat macam mana?
Dapat macam mana? Hantar dulu lah, nanti I check.
Okay. Thank you,
Right.
Doktor.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks. And I'll see you guys next week.